decided that made sense.
You were breaking new ground, though.
Yeah, right.
You weren't you, the first woman to chair the Democratic Party?
Right, first woman, and unfortunately the only woman so far.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And the Republicans have done better than, I mean, I won't comment on the people, but they have done better in terms of women. Yeah, right.
Did you face unique challenges? What was there difficulty in a woman operating in the smoke-filled rooms?
Yeah.
Was that a harder role than it might have been for someone else?
I think that women always have the trouble, even today, of being taken seriously right away. That you know, they may turn to Joe Smith sitting on your right rather than ask you your opinion. So I think that was a problem, and it continued to be a problem. It was a problem when I was chair. I just viewed it as a problem that I just had to overcome. And then when people say to you, well, why are you so forceful? I mean, it's like, you don't understand. Right. it's how you have to do it. So and they might, if a male were behaving in that manner, they wouldn't. No one would think anything of it. And I think women and men both have that problem with women who are leaders. I think that is a problem.
Women and men.
Women and men. I think women sometimes react to other women who are forceful and think, oh, they're being screechy or bitchy or whatever. And
so you couldn't assume that you would have had support of other women just because you were running for a position in the party?
No, when I was active in the party, no. Maybe today women have moved, beyond that. I mean, I certainly see the wonderful groundswell for women candidates, for Debbie Stabenow, for Jennifer Granholm, with the women voters, and the women in the party are really excited. But, when we first, when I was active in the party, that's when the Women's Caucus got started, and we were still in the early stages of the women's movement. And if a group of women decided you didn't act the way they wanted, there was really, there was, they would basically shun you. Right. And I can remember, Olga Madar, remember she was vice chair of the UAW, and so she'd made it her way, but she didn't want to keep that door open for anyone to come after her. So I remember Olga was a formidable shunner.
So she didn't see her role.
She did not
as one that was the stepping stone.
No. I think the women there are still today women that aren't that way, but more and more women realize that you have to keep that door open, because otherwise you got to bring your sisters along. But the early movement, we were still acting, even though we were a majority in numbers, we were acting like a minority group, which is sometimes you step on people within your own group because you've been stepped on so long. And so you take on the characteristic of your captor.
When you got involved and decided to get involved actively in the party, you could see you were going to hold office. If you were going to do that, it was going to take major time. Mm-hmm. You had family responsibilities. Mm-hmm. You were concerned about a number of other things. Mm-hmm. Who did you commiserate with? Who were you? Did you have a family council? Did it go beyond that to say, look, I'm gonna really now make a major commitment of time and energy. That's what I'm considering. Mm-hmm. I need to talk with you about that. Who did you commiserate with?
Well, I spent some time in therapy, so my therapist was very helpful, and then I had a couple of female friends in Flint that were really helpful. And then there was this wonderful woman, Shirley McGee, who helped me raise my kids. She was their other mother. And so I had them, but there are also a lot of lonely times too. Mm-hmm. When you're doing something new, there are a lot of times when you're your own counsel. So it was a combination of people there to help you, but also learning how to. The way I've functioned in my life is, if someone knocks me down, so then I cry, and then I take a deep breath and I say no, and then I just go. So that's basically the way I function. But there were women there to help me, definitely. And as I said, therapy was helpful too.
When Zoltan Ferenczi came to you, he was party chair at that time?
Well, he just
and
run.
had run for
Yeah,
governor?
he run. Remember that disastrous year, 1966, and he had run and was soundly defeated, and then he was running again for chair of the party.
Okay.
So he was putting together. It was the anti-Neil Stabler group, and he was putting it together, and that's when he came and asked me to run.
Now, were you the first woman to run for that office?
No, that was Kay Nye. That was
Okay.
that was, as I said, I think her husband was.
Oh, she had held the position?
She had held the position.
Okay.
She was the incumbent. But Zoltan was running against all the incumbents. And so he got me to run against Kay Nye. He got Nancy Waters to run against whoever was corresponding secretary, and Patty Knox on her own decided she was going to run against whoever was vice chair. And then Ken Hilton was the other vice chair. So that was the team.
So that was the slate you were on. Hearing those names suggest was self-conscious effort to bring diversity to that slate?
The party at that time had this sort of quota thing they did, and that was if there were two secretaries and one was white and one was African American, there were two vice chairs and one was white and one was African American. So that's the way they did it. And then also within the party rules, if the chair is a male, the first vice chair has to be female. So that was the way it. Now today there are lots and lots. They have lots. I mean, they have a page full of officers. So the functioning and the structure of. But I don't think the officers today have the same kind of role they did. I think it's basically more of a lot of staff people that do a lot of the work. So.
At what point was it when you ran for chair of the party? Is that when you were breaking new ground then?
That was when it would have been a first, right? Morley Winograd, I was vice chair. Morley Winograd was chair, and he stepped down about a fourth of the way into his term. He decided he'd had it. And I became chair, and then I ran one more time. And so then I had to run. I mean, the state central elected me, and then the next, and then the 19 would have been, let's see, Jim ran in 82, so it would have been 81, I guess. Yeah. Then I ran for the second term.
So you became party chair in.
I was party chair for the last Carter campaign, and then for the Blanchard campaign.
Okay,
yeah.
The first Blanchard campaign.
Right.
The did that put you again in a unique situation, just from the perspective of gender? Were you obviously it was unique in the sense that you were the first one in that role? Was were there problems in terms of your functioning in that role? With the party, or was the party ready to say, okay?
I think the party was pretty okay with it. I mean, and the labor movement was pretty okay with it. As I said, the one issue that I always found in terms of being female is whether or not they'll accept your credibility, and that was an issue. That was just an issue,
Right.
So, and I don't know whether that was my personality or my sense was that it was more because I wasn't a man. So
that job, party job, was it essentially a full-time job as party chair?
Yeah.
Were you?
I was through with school by that time.
You were through school.
Right. Yeah.
Had you done any teaching then?
No. I didn't teach until after I left the state of Michigan.
Okay.
And that was a wonderful. After Jim Blanchard was one other thing, and I should talk about is in 1978. Which was sort of a surprise, but it was exciting. Bill Fitzgerald asked me to run with him. He ran against Bill Milliken for governor, and I ran for lieutenant governor.